Coming up on Network Africa, the UN appeals to Congolese parties to implement the December 31 agreement for smooth political transition in the country. Worshippers in South Africa celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ at various churches in the country. And the challenges of policy making among central banks in Africa has been heightened due to the fall in commodities. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Temitope Fagbimi. The United Nations envoy for the Great Lakes region has appealed to Congolese parties to implement the December 31 agreement for political transition in the country. He also urged them to refrain from any action likely to lead to violence. Last year, deadly protests as well as worsening militia violence across the state raised fears of a backslide towards the civil war. President Joseph Kabila successfully co-opted many opponents by negotiating the formation of a power-sharing government meant to organize a presidential election to replace him by year-end.
United Nations envoy for Africa's Great Lakes region, Said Njenit, has encouraged countries in the region and the UN Security Council to help strengthen the fight against illegal armed groups in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and its neighbors, particularly because elements of the former M23 rebel group have resurfaced.
Persistent activities of the illegal armed groups remain one of the main threats to the security of the populations and to the stability of the DRC and the region. We should therefore continue to beef up efforts aimed at neutralizing the illegal armed groups, including the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, FDLR, the Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, and others, building on the progress made so far by the DRC armed forces with the support of MONUSCO.
Congo has seen a rise in violence in the country's restive Kasai region, where a worsening insurgency poses the most serious threat to President Joseph Kabila's 16-year rule. Kabila's failure to step down when his two-term mandate expired in December has further destabilized the loosely governed Central African giant. The failure to implement a deal struck with the opposition to be held by the end of this year has also exacerbated the situation. Negotiations to implement the accord collapsed 2 weeks ago amid a disagreement over the procedure for nominating a new prime minister from the main opposition bloc. Njenit appealed to Congolese parties to implement the December 31 agreement for political transition in the country.
I appeal to the parties to diligently implement the 31 December agreement in order to create the conditions for transparent, inclusive and peaceful elections through dialogue, while constantly searching for consensus. I urge them to refrain from any action likely to lead to violence.
Last Friday, Kabila named Bruno Shibala, a former member of the Union for Democracy and Social Progress, the largest opposition party, as the new prime minister. The UDPS and its allies rejected his nomination, saying Kabila violated a December deal with them by not naming a candidate of the alliance's choosing and accused him of maneuvering to hold on to power. Kabila denies that charge. He says election delays are due to logistical and budgetary constraints. Congolese ambassador to the United Nations, Ignace Gat-Mavita, defended the president's pick for prime minister, saying that he was picked following consultations with the political opposition and the presidential majority. Congo's opposition call for mass protests against the president's refusal to step down fell flat after only a handful of people showed up. The sparse turnout in the capital Kinshasa and other major cities pointed to the opposition's waning credibility and persistent difficulties convincing Congolese to risk frequently deadly crackdowns by security services.
Thousands of migrants have been saved from the sea near Libya during one of the busiest weekends of the year for rescue workers. More than 2,000 people were rescued on Friday and 3,000 on Saturday in dozens of separate rescues. But at least 7 people drowned as aid workers struggled to rescue more than 1,500 migrants in one operation. An 8-year-old boy was among the dead. The Migrant Offshore Aid Station says rescue operations started in the early hours of Saturday and continued non-stop into Sunday afternoon. A U.S.-Egyptian charity worker, Haya Ijazi, has been acquitted by a court in Egypt after almost 3 years in prison. The charity co-founder was accused of human trafficking and sexually abusing children, but human rights groups call the charges bogus. Supporters cheered as 30-year-old Ms. Ijazi, her husband, and 6 others were found not guilty. The high-profile case caused concern in Washington at the highest levels of the Obama and Trump administrations. Activists who have been campaigning for the group's release said the arrests were symptomatic of Egypt's crackdown on civil society. A group of friends who came together in 2010 to start a poultry farm in Ethiopia are taking advantage of high demand for chicken to grow their business. Friendship Agro Industry is now the second largest supplier of chicken and other poultry products in the capital.
Friendship Agro Industry, a company based in Ethiopia's Oromia region near the capital, Addis Ababa, runs a poultry farm producing various poultry products for sale. Friendship was started by 3 friends in 2010 who put their personal savings together and took a loan of $3,500 as capital. Within 7 years, the business has grown to breed thousands of hybrid chickens and produce various poultry products including eggs and chicken feed, among others, for clients in the capital. Friendship is now the second largest supplier of chicken in Addis Ababa.
We started with 80 chicken of layers. Now we have about 16,000, and the number of pullets I told you, even we are having about 80 employees, not 80 chicken by now. So even paying more than 250,000 salary monthly. So it's a big difference. So within these years that we have made this difference.
Oromia is a region at the heart of Ethiopia's industrialization drive where new business